Well, let me move on to the next band I wanted to mention.
Sure.
And this is a band that I've been a fan of for a while.
Okay.
They have some classic albums, and their live show is what really gets people into the band. A live show that I have never been able to see, and I probably won't be able to because they're from the Netherlands. It's a groove metal band called Kong. Like King Kong,
Yep.
Kong. All in caps, though.
Okay.
They've released a lot of albums over the years, and they are really good.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. But now they only have one original member left because the other guys kind of went off to do other stuff. And when this guy was like, "Oh, I want to get the band back together," they all kind of went like, So the bass player, Mark Drillich, kind of reincarnated the band with 3 new members, and they put out an album a couple years ago called What You Seem Is What You Get. You get what you seem, whatever it is. And they actually have a new album out called Merchants of Air. Now, the thing with this band, or really, like I said, it comes down to the live show. When they play a live show, they're in a room, and each member of the band is in a different corner of the room, and you are standing in the middle. They call it a quadrophonic style. So basically, you're getting music coming at you from all 4 directions.
Right.
So you're kind of surrounded by it, which I think is a really interesting concept, and I would really like to hear how that plays out. Unfortunately, unlike their other albums, this album does not translate as well to disc. You know, we've talked about writing songs to play live versus writing songs for an album.
Right.
And I think this band in general writes songs to be played live. And they've translated well over the years, but this one, with the first song, El Pilar, was excellent. There's some little electronic splashes in it. Steam trucking is fucking awesome. Because there's no vocals, so you have to tell the story with the guitars and everything. But the problem is some of these songs, most of them run in like the 6-minute range. And when you're doing an instrumental song, it's really tough to stretch it for 6 minutes, keep it fresh, keep it original, and not lose the listener. Yeah. And I find myself kind of drifting off a couple times in this album. Not like I didn't like it, but I just kind of went like, okay, this song must be almost over. Oh shit, there's 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
So that was my only downside. The musicianship is excellent. The songwriting is great. It's just I think they tried to do a little too much.
Yeah.
But definitely check it out. Called Merchants of Air. It's also on their Bandcamp site, which you should check out.
We should try to get a review with them.
What, an interview?
Yeah.
I will try and do that.
Yeah.
Kong, if you're listening, let's do an interview.
Do it.
Let's do lunch.
Good, do it.
Now, Justin, the last one we wanted to talk about tonight.
We shall do it together.
We'll do it together. We reviewed it together, and we'll discuss it together.
Yep.
In case you guys didn't know, Baroness has a new album out, or it's coming out actually in a couple days, and it's a 2-disc album, Yellow and Green.
Yep.
2 separate albums, kind of 2 separate discs in the same package.
Yep.
So we decided to split it up. Justin here on my right, your left, my right, did Yellow, and I did Green, and I think I can sum this up and say we were surprised.
Yes. Yes, very surprised. In a good way, though. It worked out. It ended up working out for them.
Well, tell us a little bit about Yellow.
All right, well, Yellow...
Yellow is the color of pee.
Yes. Planet Piss, yes.
Speaking of Metalocalypse.
Yellow. It was 9 tracks, and honestly, I want to describe the whole thing as psychedelic rock, more or less.
Yeah.
Progressive at points.
I can agree with that.
Really, there were no growling at all. It was like a little bit of harsh singing here and there, but there was a lot of just straight up clean singing throughout most of it. And there was a lot of acoustic guitars mixed in.
Yep.
The drums were amazing. That was one thing that kept it heavy, that kept it metal in general, was the drums, I think. Very detailed the entire time.
Even in the softer tracks, very detailed.
Yep. The one thing that I really enjoyed, a lot of their refrains were really catchy. I mean, I was singing away. The second track on the album, "Take My Bones Away," you got to hear that song if you haven't. Take my bones away. That's how it goes, and it's fucking catchy. I love that song. Yeah, it's one of my favorite, and it kind of reminded me of Mastodon. I try not to mention Mastodon at all in the review, but I ended up mentioning them once.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course you did.
But, I mean, they had songs like March to the Sea, you know, and I was
Mhm.
just thinking of like Leviathan, you
Yeah.
know, like type of music. And the other song that I want to mention to definitely check out, they have a song called Cocainium. Yes, Cocainium. Super psychedelic. But Darrell, you would love this song because not because just of the name, but because yeah. But the bass lines in that song is just ridiculous. It is so good, and it's like right up front. So it's like one of the main instruments throughout most of the song. So you really, I mean, I know you're a big fan of bass.
I am.
So I think you will really enjoy it.
Well, I think that that's something interesting about the choice to go kind of softer acoustic on this stuff is that the drums and the bass really shine through all that much more.
Yeah.
And we saw Baroness open for Mastodon at actually the worst Mastodon show in history.
Yeah. That was
And we caught the end of Baroness's set.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're fine, but it was a lot of yelling.
Right.
And I think that's what this album, it surprised me so much. And, you know, when we split this up and you took yellow, I went right to green.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking in my head, like, wow, maybe this is kind of like the Foo Fighters album, what the hell, In Your Honor, where they did one disc of, like, real rock, and the next disc was all acoustics. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I got the soft disc.
Yeah, right. I
But-
figured that when you texted me saying, like, hey, was yours acoustic like and everything?
Yeah.
Or did you get the harder side? Like,
And
I was kind of thinking the same thing. But I was like, oh, maybe Darrell's CD is a little heavier than mine.
But they did such a good job balancing that out.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple heavy moments, not
Right.
screaming. There was no screaming on the
No,
second
but
disc.
the
All clean
instruments were
singing.
just-
Instrumental-wise, it would
Guitars
start with
were-
acoustic guitars, then all of a sudden there'd be a little
distortion,
build-up,
yeah.
and just it would kick in,
Yep.
and there was this great explosion.
Yep.
And I think that's what's so amazing about what they did on this album.
Yeah, Nathan Explosion.
Nathan Explosion is on this album. Speaking of Metalocalypse, there were a couple songs on Green that really deserve mention. Now, did Yellow has the intro, right?
Yeah, it has, just a short, it was like a minute and a half.
Is it called Yellow Theme?
Yeah, Yellow.
Okay,
Yeah.
the Green has the same thing, Green Theme, and that was, you know, a nice little way to get into it. But like you said, some of it's so catchy. Now, the songs that I really board up the house, catchy as shit. MTNS, which I guess would be short for Mountains, also called The Crown and Anchor, fucking great. Has like this weird indie feel, but so good.
Yeah.
And then Fool Song is like almost like a soul R&B vocal over like acoustic rock.
Really?
It's just, I was so impressed because I've never heard these guys really sing cleanly.
Yeah, they were straight up.
Really good.
Yeah.
And they don't need a ton of effects and everything, and it
Right.
just... But the song that really stood out to me, Psalms Alive. It's got an electric piano in it,
Oh, yeah?
which was amazing.
Yeah.
Stretch Marker, fucking great. The Line Between, fucking great. And then the last song is this really soft acoustic all-instrumental track called If I Forget Thee, Low Country. And I remember thinking, like, going through the whole album and going, this album was really good. One more song to go. And that song came on, and I just kind of leaned back in my chair and was like, perfect.
Yeah.
The perfect outro. I have nothing bad to say about this album.
No, me neither.
I mean, yes, I think both of us were expecting something heavy.
Yeah.
We may have wanted something heavy, but I am perfectly content with this album.
Yeah, it's still, yeah.
Now, here's a question for you.
Yep.
What are the chances of them playing this album live? I mean, they might play a couple songs, but how do you take a Baroness show with people who are expecting to come? It's like when Opeth played Heritage.
Right.
You're going to have those people who are going to expect, like, the
Heavier,
yelling from Blue Record and
yeah,
Red
yeah.
and
Yeah,
First
yeah.
and Second,
Yeah.
and you're going to end up with stuff like this, which...
Well, Mastodon pulled it off when they came out with Crack the Sky. People were satisfied with that because they did the whole Crack the Sky album, and then they played like 2 or 3.
Yeah, but Crack
off
the
of
Sky
each
wasn't
of them.
acoustic. It was still Mastodon.
Well,
It was
yeah,
still
but-
Mastodon at the, you know...
But a lot of people
playing
look
it.
at it being lighter.
Well,
than
I
the
guess
rest of
it's
their
really,
stuff.
yeah, it's
Like,
lighter
One
than an
Mountain was,
earlier
like, ridiculous.
category.
Yeah. So they still gave them what you want, the classics of their older albums. So I mean, they could do it. They could do. I would say they play like half a Yellow, half a Green, and then give you.
Or even like 2 songs from each or 3 songs from each.
Yeah, and then give you a couple off of the other ones. I would say to play mainly more than 2 or 3. I would say to play like a good 4, 5, 6 songs off of Green and Yellow.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, as your your outro songs, you play a couple of the big ones. Yeah. Off the old.
I would love to hear some of these songs live.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah, definitely.
There's something emotional about this that I didn't really feel with their previous albums. I know you were a big fan of Blue Record.
I like Blue Record, yeah.
But it didn't feel like there was no emotional attachment for me. Like I didn't listen to the songs and go like, oh man, that song made me feel something.
Yeah.
I've always kind of been on the periphery for Baroness. Like I like them, but I've never been so dedicated aside from their artwork, which I think is awesome. Yeah. Which is what's the guy's name? Romano, yeah. We can't remember his first name.
He's the same guy that's done all the previous artwork for Mastodon, besides not counting the Hunter.
Yeah, and didn't he do what's that band with a K? Cavertalac. It looks the same as Baroness.
Yeah,
I'm assuming probably.
Right, yeah. He's done a lot actually, even for bands not even quite metal. Life Once Lost, he did artwork for.
That's a shame.
He did a bunch.
Well, between him,
he's definitely well known now in the music industry in general. A lot of bands go to him now.
Well, between him and Travis Smith, who did all the artwork for Catatonia.
Oh yeah.
And some of the more recent Nevermore albums, those two guys seem to have it locked down with awesome artwork.
Yeah.
So that's just a couple of the reviews that we wanted to kick back to you guys. There were a lot more that we did since we've talked reviews, but those were the ones I think we wanted to highlight.
Yeah, you guys will have to just scroll back yourselves if you want to find out the rest.
Yep, scroll back, check it out, see what's in there. Buy a copy of the sampler from our Bandcamp page, and
yeah, definitely.
We're almost at 500 likes on Facebook. Can you believe that?
Yeah, come on, let's get up there.
Yeah, and then once we get to 666, I'm sure we'll post something.
Woo!
But yeah.
Well. Closing out here, there's just two things that I wanted to mention.
Okay,
right?
Randy Blythe.
No.
Speaking of Metalocalypse.
No. I came across a sign earlier today that had the word crowd on it.
A crowd, okay.
Okay, like a group of people together, a crowd.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think that crowd sounds like an Asian trying to say the word cloud. So, no matter how you say the word crowd, now you're just always going to think that you're an Asian trying to pronounce the word cloud.
Oh, look at that crowd. Oh, my God.
Yep, and the other thing is, you ever read a anti-gravity book before?
No, I haven't.
I have, and I just couldn't put it down.
Yeah.